Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our course orientation this morning. Today, we will be looking at BSB40520, the Certificate 4 in Leadership and Management. My name is Tim Stalker. I am one of the course advisors here at Let Training. Joining me today, I have one of our trainers, Ray McCall. Ray, thank you for joining me.
My pleasure completely, Tim. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So just before we get started, Ray, for people who may not have had any dealings with you previously, could you give us a bit of background? What sort of areas were you in before you became one of our trainers here?
Yes, certainly. Quite a broad spectrum experience from a leadership and management point of view, both in terms of levels of capacity from a local business unit through to regional and national roles across a variety of industries, predominantly hotels and casino operations, so the hospitality industry, global organisations, and then moving into facility services, education management, and also community services more recently. And wrapping around my professional experience, my postgraduate qualification is a Master's in Educational Leadership and Management.
Fantastic, fantastic. So just before we get started, a little bit of housekeeping. You can ask questions for anyone in the audience. You can ask questions at any stage. We'll be happy to answer them ourselves, or a member of our course advisory team will get in touch with you and ask to grab your details off you. We'll give you a call or send you an email after the orientation and provide you with a bit more detailed feedback if need be. We will also pause on a couple of occasions during the orientation just to see if there are any questions from the chat that we can help with straight away. But as I said, let's get started today. And as I said previously, we were looking at the Certificate 4 in Leadership and Management. This is a nationally recognised course under the Australian Qualifications Framework. This is the most recent version of the course. The updated version came into effect in 2020. You do not require any previous study to enrol in the Certificate 4 in Leadership and Management, and completion of this can then also provide you with the necessary foundational skills that we would recommend you obtain before moving on to the Diploma of Leadership and Management or the Advanced Diploma of Leadership and Management. So here we have listed a few career outcomes for people who complete the Certificate 4 in Leadership and Management. The good thing about this course is that it is general to apply to just about any industry. Would you agree with that, Ray?
Absolutely, Tim. It's certainly cross-industry, cross-sectoral, anywhere where a person's role is involved with influencing and dealing with people, a critical qualification in that regard.
Fantastic. Now, one of the things we mention here also as course advisors is there's no industry that does not require people who know how to lead and manage a team. It's one of those skills that is effective right across the entire workforces in Australia. So it doesn't matter if it's something you're looking at for your current position or if it's something you're looking to develop for potentially moving on to other roles or other positions or even other workforces. The leadership and management skills you obtain in this course will definitely help you out. We'll get into those skills in just a moment. One other thing we normally recommend, Ray, is that this is a very good course to combine with some of our other courses potentially concerning HR or work health and safety. You'd agree with that as well?
Look, absolutely. That in those two disciplines, it certainly complements, given the nature and scope of people-related responsibilities. And I keep coming back to that word influencing, whether or not that's as an HR officer or an administrator or a WHS officer, even a WHS representative, for example. Certainly key skills embedded in this program. And just going back to something you mentioned before, it's certainly fitting anyone taking on those leadership responsibilities, but it's also a valuable qualification for people being succession planned into a supervisory team leader role.
Exactly right, exactly right. We'll just move on now to our next section, which is on the course outline. Now, as I explained previously, this is a nationally recognised qualification. You will receive 12 months, apologies, to complete this course. but it is a self-paced course. You are able to finish at any stage within those 12 months. Now, we've broken up the Certificate 4 course into 12 sets of skills here. Now, Ray, one of the questions we get asked quite a bit relates to those professional skills there. Now, some people look at these skills and they say, well, some of these, lead team effectiveness or communicating, we understand, but then they get into things like work health and safety policies and procedures, or writing complex documents, and they say, well, is this something I'm going to be using on a daily basis? What would you say to that?
A resounding yes, Tim. If I start with WHS, under WHS legislation, particularly the harmonised laws around this country, everyone has obligations, primary duties in that regard, and therefore, particularly in terms of responsibility for the health, safety and welfare of others, a critical aspect of the role. Same thing in terms of those communication skills, ability to prioritise, certainly future oriented in terms of continuous improvement, and certainly business writing is critical. And if I link it in, for example, as a leader, you're needing to report upwards, you're needing to contribute to a month-end report, so particularly about your team. So therefore, those professional skills go without saying as underpinning all of the functional requirements in leadership and management.
Fantastic. Now, another thing I get asked quite a bit is some of these skills might look similar. So something like, for example, lead and facilitate a team, and then we've also got lead team effectiveness, and then we've also got lead effective workplace relationships. Now, are these the same topics just under different headings, or are they individual and unique skills?
The individual skills, Tim, and when you drill down in terms of the focus or the outcome and what's embedded in them, you'll realise that they do take a nuanced approach to all of the various aspects of leadership. So if I give you an example, the lead and facilitate a team is very much about those hard skill areas of developing and using performance plans, planning for contingencies with a team, allocating tasks, dealing with issues, and measuring and monitoring team performance. So use of key performance indicators and so forth. With the workplace relationships, whilst in the previous unit the focus was on the team, there are many other relationships that a leader needs to nurture and maintain. So this unit is focusing on, yes, team cohesion and the relationship with your team, but also other internal relationships, particularly managers, and also the vast variety of external relationships and external stakeholders that needing to nurture and sustain those relationships. And then if I move towards the other unit you flagged, the leader team effectiveness, is again zeroing in on the skills required for developing and maintaining team cohesion. So again, all very distinguishable in terms of their focus.
Fantastic. Now, all 12 units that we see here, or all 12 skills, must be completed in order to finish the course and receive that certificate for. However, if you complete at least one unit within the 12-month enrolment term, we will be able to provide you with a statement of attainment. So even if you only finish 1 or 2 units, you still will not be walking away from this course empty-handed. We'll just hold here for just a moment and see if there are any questions about the course we can help with. I'm not seeing anything coming through from chat at the moment, so I think we'll move on to the next section here. Oh, no, there is a late question. Let's have a look here. How many hours of study do we recommend per unit? Okay, our usual rule of thumb for this is around 10 to 15 hours of study a week, which will get you through 1 unit every month. So that would equal roughly 50 to 60 hours of study. Now, in saying that, I will advise that this is just a general rule. As it is a self-paced course, you are able to go through it completely at your own pace. You may be able to finish it quicker than that, or alternatively, you might need a little bit more time on it. It's really up to the individual, but as a general rule, we recommend 50 to 60 hours of study for each of the units. If there are no other questions, we will just move on to our next section, which regards the learning facilitation model. Here we go. So as I previously discussed, the course is 100% online. It is entirely self-paced. Once you're provided with your login details at Enrolment, you are able to log in anywhere and any time. You have 24/7 access to the online learning platform. We actually have students at the moment completing their courses in remote areas of Australia through maybe doing fly-in, fly-out roles. We also have people studying overseas while they're part of the Defence Forces. We even have people who have taken their work with them while they've gone on working holidays overseas. So long as you have a desktop or laptop computer and reliable internet access, you will be able to access your resource material and the online learning platform in general. One thing we will suggest, though, is that if you are studying potentially overseas or in remote areas of Australia, the trainers are only available between 9 and 5:30 Sydney time. So you will need to adjust for any particular time differences. Now, one other thing that we have here is webinars. Now, this is something we use to supplement or assist with the written resource material that we provide. Ray, you deal with a lot of our webinars. What are some of the topics specific to Certificate 4 in Leadership and Management that you've touched on recently?
I do, Tim. There are two distinct streams in terms of the webinars. Firstly, there's a range that are designed to unpack, for want of a better expression, the assessment requirements. We'll talk a moment about assessment more broadly. However, these webinars are designed to walk learners through the requirements so there is clarity around expectations in that regard. So unit specific, a suite of webinars in that regard, details of which are provided on enrolment. The other range are topic related, and so to answer your question, certainly all encompassing in terms of nature and scope, those that relate to, for example, that I've done the Australian workplace relations system, which certainly fits into leadership and management, needing to understand the legislative basis of leading and management, and therefore webinars around a fair work system. I facilitated webinars on how to write a business report. You referred to the writing complex documents units before, and it's a skill that is greatly needed in industry these days in terms of formalised business reporting, right down to how to develop an action plan, which again is critical in terms of team management and team leadership, with supporting webinars around understanding different types of plan. As a leader and manager, you'll be dealing with strategic plans, business plans, operational plans, right through to action plans. So separate webinars zeroing down to that, by way of example.
Fantastic. Now, anyone who does enroll will have access to all of the previous webinars relating to this course, and we will also advise as new webinars are being provided. We will always give you the chance to follow along live. If you miss it, that's no problem. We'll always send you the link so you can watch it at your own pace later. Those links, by the way, will remain. They don't change, or they're not removed after a certain amount of time. They will remain there for you to access as you need them. Also involving our learning facilitation model, we have our tutors here. Now, when you enroll, you are assigned a tutor that will be there to support you through your studies. If you do have questions, you can reach your tutor or trainer through several different methods. Most students will choose to email them, and all emails will be responded to within 1 business day. Alternatively, what some students would prefer to do is book in support sessions. Now, these can be completed over the phone or, more and more likely recently, over Zoom. These sessions are half an hour long. We would recommend that before you start the support session to have your questions and your resource material there, because the trainer will help you go through it. These can be booked in a couple of days in advance, we would recommend, and they can be booked in any time between 9 and 5:30, Monday to Friday. These support services are free. They are included with the course fees. There is no additional fees for trainer support. There is also no additional fees for multiple assessment attempts. And we see here that your tutor will be marking your assessment tasks and providing feedback within 5 business days. Now, If after the first assessment attempt, you need to have another go at it or another attempt, that's completely fine. The trainer will always give you feedback. After 3 attempts, if it's still at a stage where the trainer thinks you need to have another attempt at it, what will happen is we'll put a temporary hold on that assessment task and book you in for a support session, either over the phone or over Zoom, whichever you would prefer. Now, those multiple assessment attempts are also free of charge. They do not incur any additional course fees. We'll just move on now to our next section, which is regarding our assessments. Now, as we see here, there are 2 separate assessment tasks for each unit. One is a series of short answer questions, which is knowledge-based. I get asked this all the time. I'll answer it right now. I'm sorry, there is no multiple choice in this assessment. I'm sorry about that. But equally, there are no essays either. Most will just require quick explanations, quick summaries, or short answers. Now, Ray, this is designed specifically so that trainers know that the student has understood the resource material. Is that correct?
That's correct. It gives a helicopter view of the content, as it were, as a springboard for moving on to the practical project.
Fantastic, and we'll just get onto that now. The practical assessment tasks do not require access to classrooms, work sites, or work placements. Most of these are going to be done in simulated business environments. Now, Ray, what are some of the tasks people might be asked to complete as part of these practical projects?
Sure. Examples are facilitate a presentation, for example, and it could be a presentation pitched at peer managers or upward to senior management or to team members. It could be a delivery of a training session on a specific topic, for example, a WHS topic. It could be to conduct a meeting, for example, a consultation meeting with the direct manager to negotiate an outcome or get approval on a proposal. So all tasks involving active demonstration of skills by the learner.
Exactly. And this active demonstration, that can be done a couple of different ways. One of them can be done with your trainer over Zoom. Alternatively, if you'd rather, you can video it with people you know, friends or family or work colleagues, and you can then submit that video as your assessment attempt. All assessments are marked on a competent and not yet competent scale. And in the event that, again, you are not yet considered competent on the first attempt, the trainer will always be happy to give you feedback and also always be happy to book in a support session to go through it with you. One other thing to point out is that we use case studies and simulated workplace events for all of our assessment tasks. This is so that students who do not have a previous work history in a leadership and management role are not hampered by that. So everyone is marked on exactly the same resource material and the same scenarios. So you're not able to provide your own work history as a way for completing the assessment attempt. And I'll just hold here again and see if there are any questions about the course before we move on. I see questions come through in chat. Can I print the learning materials? Absolutely. We don't provide physical copies of our resource material or our assessment tasks, but you are more than welcome to print yours out if, like myself, you would like an actual physical copy that you can make notes on. That's no problem at all. Just so I can see if there's any other questions, and if not, we'll move on to our next section. Is there a second question here? Not a problem. We'll just move on now to our next section, and this is on other assessment pathways. Now, as well as completing those previously mentioned assessment tasks, there are a couple of other methods by which people can complete them. And the first one here listed is credit transfers. Now, Ray, that concerns previous study in a vet course, correct?
That's correct. It is specifically where you've completed a unit of competency under the VET system. And again, I use the expression of needing to compare apples to apples. So if it's a prior version of a unit, it needs to be directly equivalent unit. And also the other qualification is around the currency of skills, that in terms of gaining credit recognition under the standards for registered training organisations, organisations, we need to establish that if, for example, you achieved the outcome in 2012 or 2015, that's certainly not within the definition of current or very recent, that you need to demonstrate through workplace evidence currency of those skills. But going back to your question, it is verification that you have completed the unit and you do have a formal documentation in the form of a transcript or a record of results that can verify that.
Great. This credit transfer assessment can be completed prior to enrolment. What we would need is evidence of your previous study, and this is in the form of a transcript, as Ray mentioned. This transcript can come either from the institute you previously studied at, or it can come directly from USI. Once we've received this transcript, one of our senior trainers can assess that for you and advise you on whether there is potential of credit transfers. There are no additional fees for a credit transfer assessment, and that assessment will take roughly 1 to 2 business days. Comparatively, we also have recognition of prior learning, and this focuses more on informal skills developed in the workplace, correct?
That's correct, Tim. Yeah. So if someone can demonstrate through evidence, again, I keep using this word evidence, of performing the duty and fulfilling the competency requirements, they're certainly at liberty to lodge an application for RPL for a specific unit.
Fantastic. Now, in this scenario, an initial consultation can be completed over the phone with one of our senior trainers. They could then advise on potential areas where someone may be able to obtain recognition of prior learning. After enrolment, your trainer would then provide you with a list of pieces of evidence we would need to obtain for you to develop a portfolio. Ray, what are some of the pieces of evidence that someone might need to obtain for an RPL assessment?
Sure. Look, it depends on the unit itself and the assessment requirements. But again, documentation from the workplace, or it could be video recordings or audio recordings as well, that clearly demonstrate the learner's engagement in the activity. So look, examples could be project plans that the learner has documented, developed, consulted on, implemented, managed and monitored, or any other form of plan. It could be policies and procedures or standard operating procedures, safe work procedures that they've implemented in the workplace and they're the author of, through to testimonials, for example, from a third-party supervisor, or letters of commendation, for example, from satisfied clients or other third parties. It could be meeting agendas and meeting minutes demonstrating that, you know, the learner was the chairperson of the meeting. So a quite broad spectrum range. Again, I always qualify that from a confidentiality point of view, that any commercial in confidence information to be redacted or de-identified, because the focus is on demonstrating your or the learner's involvement in the skill, as opposed to scrutinising, you know, the underpinning information in the document per se.
Fantastic. Now, the initial consultation with one of our trainers prior to enrolment is free of charge. However, when you submit your portfolio of evidence, there is a fee that is incurred. This fee will vary depending on the number of units you're seeking RPL for, and we would recommend always speaking to course advisors or trainers prior to submitting this evidence. They will be happy to provide you with an overview of the fees that would be incurred. Now, one other option, if someone doesn't get a unit completely assessed as competent by credit transfer or RPL, they may be asked to complete gap training. Now, Ray, that's where some of the elements of the unit are completed, but not all of it. Is that correct?
That's correct. So there would be partial recognition of prior learning for those components that were appropriately evidenced. And then through development of a specific gap assessment task, the learner would be provided learning support and obviously the assessment specifications to be able to fill that gap or address the areas in which there's no workplace experience, to be ultimately able to achieve an outcome for the unit. So as the name suggests, it's filling the gap between the workplace experience and the unit requirements.
Fantastic. We'll just move on now to our next section, which regards student support services. Now, as we've touched on in a couple of sections, we do have several methods by which a student can get support. First off, they can always contact the office here at 0296333929 to book in those support sessions that they might need. Also, for anyone who is seeking further information on the course prior to enrolment, they can always email the course advisors here. Our email address is right there, enquire@lettraining.com.au. We also have a series of Facebook groups that are now available. They're divided up into Certificate 4, Diploma and Advanced Diploma. And these are great for people who might need that little bit of extra motivation to get through their course. We'll just move on now to our next section, which is on enrolment. Now, if you are ready to enroll in the course, there are several methods by which you can enroll. First here, and what most people will choose to do, is enroll via our website. There is the link there. You are looking for this button with the orange Enroll Now banner on it. Clicking that will take you straight through to the enrolment section of our website. It shouldn't take you more than 5 minutes or so. Alternatively, you can enroll over the phone, or you can get assistance on enrolling over the phone. As previously mentioned, you can contact us at 0296333929. Finally, you are able to submit an enrolment form. Now, once you have received the course information pack by email, you will also have received an enrolment form. It's one of the attachments on that email. All you need to do is complete that form and email it back to us. Regardless of which way you choose to enroll, whether it's via our website or via the enrolment form, your enrolment will be processed within 1 business day, and you will receive your login details to the online learning portal, as well as your trainer's contact details by email. And we will just now move on to payment plans. Now, as we see here, there are multiple payment plans that are available for all of our courses, and the Certificate 4 in Leadership and Management is no different. We offer multiple plans. As we see here, you can pay weekly, fortnightly, or monthly installments. You can also choose a 50% upfront and 50% in either 30 or 60 days. Alternatively, you are able to enroll and pay for the full amount of the course upfront. If you are using one of these payment plans, there may be an admin fee incurred. Those admin fees are included in the enrolment form and also the enrolment page on our website. We are also able to customize payment plans slightly. So if you would potentially like to pay a little bit more off each week, or potentially, you would like to pay a little bit more off each month, that's no problem. Get in contact with us before you enroll, either by phone or by email, and our accounts team will see if we can work something out for you. One thing that is unable to be changed is the upfront costs. There must be an upfront cost for each of our payment plans at enrolment, and the minimum for that would be $150 in this case. And we'll move on now to our final section. We're going to open the floor now to any questions that are in chat. So chat, if there are any questions, go right ahead. I see one's come through now. Let's have a look here. What software applications do I need to complete this course? From memory, you would need access to Microsoft Office Suite. You would also need access to Zoom. You would also need access to a program that zips and unzips files. So WinZip is probably the best known of them. Ray, is there anything I'm missing?
No, it's predominantly the Microsoft suite of applications that will facilitate. The only other is a PDF Acrobat reader.
Of course, PDF as well. One thing I will also point out, just while talking about Microsoft Office, this is the reason why we insist that students complete their course using a desktop or laptop computer. If students attempt to complete them on a smart device, the formatting on our assessments breaks down, and we will be unable to mark those assessments submitted in such a fashion. So make sure you're completing it on a desktop or laptop computer. We'll just see if there are any other questions from chat. There doesn't appear to be. So if there are no further questions, at this point, we will begin to wrap up the course orientation here. If you do have any further questions after viewing this video, please don't hesitate to get in contact with us. You can contact course advisors at enquire@training.com.au. You can also call us at 02 9633 3929, or you can also contact us on